Hi, everybody. This is David Nevins for City Biz. Thank you for joining us today. And our guest is Paul Cooper, who is celebrating, I should tease him by saying he's celebrating his 100th birthday. But Paul, you don't look a day over 75, just kidding.
Thank you very much.
But in all seriousness, it is quite a birthday or anniversary celebration. Your business, Alex Cooper Auctioneers, is celebrating this year its 100th birthday. Tell us a little bit about that. It's a very special occasion.
Well, I started in the business 45 years ago, and I never thought I'll be sitting here in 2024 celebrating with everyone. And it's certainly an honor and a privilege for a business to go to fourth generation. My grandfather, who was a young immigrant, came to this country around 1911. And 1924, he needed to support his family, 9 brothers and sisters, a mother. His dad had died in 1916, and he happened to be in the auction business. So that's basically where he started, initially working for other auctioneers and eventually going on his own. But he's been serving, he had served our family has served the Baltimore and the Maryland community, for 100 years. And of course, in the past 30 years, we've been serving DC also, Washington, DC, very active there. So it started there. My father came into the business as a teenager. He was working there in the early 1950s. And when he got married in 1955 and graduated college, is when he started there full time. And my father will be celebrating his 90th birthday in a month. And he's still the president of Alex Cooper Auctioneers and still active to this day. And at this point, we have my 2 brothers, Larry and Brian, are active, as well as my nephew and niece, Matt Cooper and Carly Cooper. So that basically gives you some synopsis from day one to the present time.
Well, first of all, wish your dad happy 90th birthday for me. Back to the business's 100th birthday. I know that you are particularly proud and have continued, I'd say, your grandfather's and your father's special and unique business philosophy. Maybe share a few words with our viewers about that.
Well, my grandfather, who I remember, he passed away when I was 13 back in 1971. He was always a people person. I mean, he was on the streets. He was meeting people. He was a schmoozer. And he created relationships with a lot of people in the community. And it's word of mouth that basically we rely on. So it's providing a service to the community, whether it be through community involvement, volunteer work, or of course the business that we do, and helping people, whether it's selling their real estate, selling their jewelry, silver, antiques, fine art, whatever. But it's just basically giving back to the community, helping the community, and it's the word of mouth that we rely on, which is how my grandfather started the business.
And I know you're also very proud of your dad's sense of, in terms of bringing to your culture there, his sense of honesty and integrity in running Alex Cooper over the years as well.
Yeah, Baltimore, you live in a fishbowl. Okay, I mean, that's just the way it is. Everybody knows everyone else. That's how it works. So you got to be fair and you got to be honest, because once you break from that mold, it's a problem. Then you lose the word of mouth isn't so good at that point. So, right. You're going to have repeat customers. And to this day, I'm dealing with 3rd generation customers, which is fantastic. So that's what you rely on. You have to be honest. You got to be fair. And that's what we strive for.
So I know, Paul, you are particularly proud. We've talked about your grandfather and your dad. And I know you're particularly proud of the advances in technology that you've been able to bring to Alex Cooper Auctioneers and how that's allowed you to grow your business in more recent years.
Yes. I always say you can't look in the rearview mirror running a business. I don't want to hear what you did 5 years ago, what you did 10 years ago. That doesn't matter. That's then. This is now. I look in the front mirror, or I should say, not the front. I should look in the front windshield, and when I'm driving this car called a Alex Cooper Auctioneers, but I'm looking towards the front and where we're going to be 3 to 5 years down the road. And I knew around 2015 we're going to have a major online presence. You know, it's funny. My father was the one who pushed us to get on the internet. I don't know, was it in the 1990s or whatever? I lose track of time, but probably back in the 1990s when we started our website. My father was the one who pushed to get us on there, and we started. And of course, you know, certainly no regrets since then. And so right now in 2015, for example, I realized a lot of the auctions were going to be online, whether it be real estate, fine arts. It was going to be an online presence you needed. So that's when we really spearheaded our development for online auction sales. And we rolled out in 2017 our real estate platform for online sales, which we did in conjunction with live sales also. So we called them what were called simulcast. You can, if you can't bid our sale, you're participating online, and then the auctioneer also has a crowd in front of them. Things changed in 2020 with COVID. Next thing you know, you're not allowed to be around, you know, a large group of people. You can't have 100 people in your audience running an auction sale. So things changed, and we found that being online and doing these, in some cases online only, work really, really well. So we got away from the simulcast, which there's different business philosophies about that, but we find that the online only works much better for us, and that's what we've been doing. And same with the fine art division. We used to have crowds of 150 people attending our auctions. Now what we have is 500-600 people plus online participating, and 3 people sitting in the crowd. Mm-hmm. And that's how it's changed. And our sales are better than ever, and certainly much better than what they were 5 or 10 years ago. What I say to people is, even though we procure items from, let's say, a 50 to 100 mile radius, our customers are worldwide. Right. I mean, every continent, most of the countries, I can't say every country in the world, of course, but there's a lot of countries that participate in our auction sales. So that's what makes it successful, getting a good name and having a loyal customer and client base.
And Paul, just for the viewers who are a little less familiar with Alex Cooper Auctioneers, run us quickly through the range of things you sell. I know you have a big real estate department, jewelry, fine arts, coins, estate, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, I don't want to do it myself. Just tell us the range of things. So, you know, you never know. We may have viewers that are future customers of yours, and certainly we have viewers who are future buyers of yours, and so on.
Well, let's start with real estate. So in real estate, we handle residential, commercial, multifamily, industrial. And that is a major component of our business. So you have the real estate side of the business, then you get to the fine art side of the business. And fine art is sort of a generic term, but jewelry is a major category, major item that we sell. For example, you know, mom, your aunt, grandma passed away. The jewelry is not for you. It's not your style. So we provide a venue where you have many, many hundreds of people participating and buying that item, as opposed to you going to a single store and asking them to buy it from you. Silver, you know, the younger generation's not into silver. As the older generation passes on or downsizes, that's another area we've been very strong in. Coins, the coin collecting community, again, it's a generational thing about who collects coins. And so we certainly are approached by a lot of clients whose family had collected coins. They're no longer into coin collecting, but we have a tremendous customer base for that also. Furniture goes without saying, artwork, decorative items. So these are some of the things that we do sell. Historical items. I mean, I really enjoy those types of items of a historic nature. That's what resonates with me, since I enjoy history a lot.
And speaking of that, I know I read about you guys from time to time. You've sold some fascinating things over the years. Run us through a handful of the more interesting sales that you've represented.
So here are three things that basically resulted from someone doing a clean out of a house. These are three things that came from a clean out of a house. We got a call, and so we went in there. They had some nice things. I mean, it was fine. And so my colleague who worked for me said, okay, just bring it all in. Bring in even the scrapbooks. You want to look in the scrapbooks. Well, they look in a scrapbook. The family didn't realize they had a 4-page letter from George Washington to Brian Fairfax. If I remember correctly, 1779. 1779 was this letter from Washington to Fairfax. They had a long-term correspondence back and forth. I think they might have been cousins even, the Fairfax family, as in Fairfax, Virginia, of course. And so Brian Fairfax, well, let me go back. If you look in the National Archives, you're going to see the letters in the National Archives between the two of them. However, up until about, I guess, 20 years ago, one of the letters was missing. You saw the January letter, 1779, that was sent from Brian Fairfax to George Washington. And then you saw another letter later in 1779 from Brian Fairfax to George Washington. The letter from Washington to Fairfax, which was June of 1779, was missing. Not that anybody even knew where it was or existed. That was the letter. So if you look in the archives right now and Google Brian Fairfax, Fairfax and George Washington, Brian Fairfax and George Washington, and Alex Cooper, you'll see a copy of that letter in the National Archives. It was purchased by an investor, but of course it was transcribed from George Washington's handwriting, so you can understand what was being said. And so that was very interesting. And again, we were on the verge of throwing away the scrapbook. It was just clippings in there. It wasn't anything special. That was one example. We get a call from somebody who says they want to sell books and linens. Come on in. I mean, who knows what the books and linens are? I don't know. Is it paperbacks? Is it, somebody's bed linens? Who knows? So I remember I was there that day. They came in the back door of our building, started unloading this van. In there were books dated 1785 Paris. And if you open up the book, you have the name of Thomas Jefferson's daughter and a couple grandchildren in the book, Monticello. And it's like, oh my God. And I forgot 2, 3, 4 books. So Jefferson was the ambassador to France between 1784 and 1789. These were books that he purchased while an ambassador in France. That went into his family's collection. In the early 1800s, after the Washington was burned, the Washington D.C., of course, the British invaded and burned a lot of things. He sold his book collection of about 6,500 volumes to form the Library of Congress. I think the figure was like about $25,000 he sold it for. So that was the basis for the Library of Congress. The books we had were just a few of his personal collection that he did not sell to form the Library of Congress. So that, resonated with me. And I think they may be back in Monticello. I think they may have gone to his collection.
Wow.
A third item that was brought in by an antique dealer. 2 letters from J.P. Custis to George Washington. J.P. Custis was Martha's son from her first marriage. She had a son and a daughter. J.P. died, and J.P. was adopted by George Washington. And J.P. died very young, leaving children, his wife and children. George Washington adopted his grandchildren, or J.P.'s children, I should say, and helped to raise them because J.P. died very young. So one of the letters had to do with the fact that George Washington was criticizing JP for purchasing this tract of land on the Potomac. It was an installment sale, and George Washington thought it was just too much money. And so JP was trying to defend his position about it was worthwhile. That land is now where Reagan Airport is. So as you know, the Custis family bought up tremendous tracts of land along the Potomac, including where Arlington Cemetery is, where Robert E. Lee, who was a Custis in the Custis family, that's where he lived. But this was, again, one of the tracts that J.P. Custis bought up. So again, historical nature, fascinating to me. And so it's, and other things, I mean, things with, excuse me, Abraham Lincoln's signature, just, you know, all the presidents. We have a tremendous number of presidents with letters, signatures, proclamations, declarations, whatever, throughout the years that we've sold.
I can tell that your eyes light up, and your knowledge of history is quite something. I don't know which came first, the chicken or the egg, whether you had that knowledge of history or you learned it as the result of all the interesting things that are brought to you to sell.
Well, I learn it. So I do what's called a deep dive when I find something and it's brought to my attention. And that's what I do. Even when it comes to paintings, I've seen paintings at our place. I start doing a deep dive of who the subject person is. And I look at some other examples of that artist's work and compare it to what we have. And so it's just, that's what it is. You see something and you just do that deep dive to learn more about the subject and the history behind it.
Yeah, and of course, as you know, you all are known for being very detail oriented, and needless to say, that helps your sellers get higher prices, and helps it creates a bigger audience among prospective buyers too. So you, I don't think you've, I don't know that you've sold. I know real estate is a big area for you. I don't know if you've sold real estate that goes back to the 1700s, but I do know that, well, you probably have, but I do know that you've sold real estate in the Washington area that has played a more recent role in U.S. history. We were talking about that the other day. Share some for our audience, some examples of prominent buildings, office towers, let's say, that you've or hotels that you've sold in the Baltimore, Washington area.
Well, we haven't handled the White House or the Capitol. Okay, I can tell you that.
Not yet.
Not been subject to one of my. Not yet. Yes. As long as they pay their bills, they're fine. Okay. When they stop paying them, then I might get that phone call from a lawyer to handle the sale. So it was probably about 15 years ago. I think it was 2009 that we got a call that they were going to foreclose on the Watergate Hotel. And that was in that complex, of course, which was the famous Watergate, the subject of Nixon's downfall. But I remember handling that sale. And afterwards, I don't know how many radio stations. Well, first of all, we had so many cameras set up in our small little auction office in DC for that sale. And I can't tell you how many radio stations contacted me and were discussing it. But, you know, it brought back a lot of memories to people, even though, you know, that goes back to the early 1970s. And it's amazing how that, you know, 35 years later, people were still fascinated by the whole concept of Watergate and what happened. But yeah, so the Watergate Hotel met its demise. Of course, it's come back and was purchased and I believe fixed up and renovated. So that's an example. We've been we handle a lot of foreclosures of very prominent places. I've been doing quite a few office buildings in this marketplace, multifamily properties in DC. DC has been a busy market as far as, unfortunately, as far as defaults are concerned. And you've been reading about in the paper with the office buildings and the distressed properties. So that's been keeping me busy, certainly. More so than in Baltimore. I haven't seen this type of these issues in Baltimore.
Paul, talk for just a quick minute as to why would a property owner, whether they're commercial or residential, what are the advantages to selling their property at auction versus the more traditional means of putting up a for sale sign and letting people come to you with offers?
Well, the marketplace in the past few years has been extremely competitive, very, very tight, difficult to find properties. I think the problem is us baby boomers aren't moving. So people, so the younger people don't have places to buy. It's a tight marketplace. So when people say to me, whether friends, family, acquaintances say, "Oh, I sold my property in a day," I say, "It's too bad. It's unfortunate you sold it in a day." "Why is that? I mean, I'm so happy." I said, "Because you probably left a lot of money on the table. I mean, if you marketed it for a week or 2 or 3 or weeks and gave it an exposure, you probably would have had competitive bidding, and they would have bid each other up and they would have paid much higher. Selling it in a day doesn't give it an opportunity to market the property." So what an auction does is we give people, the buyers, opportunities to find the property, number one, on the internet, and number two, to check it out, and number three, to participate in the bidding process. They know it's not going to be sold in a day, and they know we set a date, a time for the sale, and they participate. And it's just amazing the competition and what competition does to the price point of a property. So that's what I find interesting is in a tight market, allow competition to take place. Why sell it in a day? Just give it some exposure. Let the realtor, and we're realtors also. I'm a licensed realtor. I'm a licensed salesman. My nephew Matt Cooper is a licensed broker. But let people compete. I don't want to make it that easy for buyers or for sellers. Let them compete. Let's work at it. Let's work hard and let's try to get as much as we can.
Yeah, a fascinating answer. And,
Mhm.
as someone who's known you for quite a while, I know that a good number of your sellers have
Right.
been quite advantaged by the
Mhm.
opportunity to auction as opposed to traditional sales. So good job on that. Paul, in closing, let me just ask you this. I find it, I want to ask you about the future. And not that you can predict the future, but how you
I got a
see.
crystal ball.
Yeah, okay, then you can. So how you
Yeah.
see the auction business going? I know you spoke so enthusiastically about the George Washington and Thomas Jefferson letters, for example, and books, but there are going to be fewer and fewer of those, right? You're not likely to be able to sell the email that one president sent to another. I know you've
Right.
taken a great deal of advantage and built the business now into this worldwide business that you talked about using technology. How do you see the auction business going forward?
I feel that we're more of a technology company who uses auctions, as our way to uh, expedite the sale of items. It's always going to be that's always going to be around. People are always going to be downsizing, moving, selling, and buying. There's always going to be buyers and sellers, no matter what you think, and that's going to continue for a long, long time. So it's a necessary. It's necessary to provide that service. It's important to provide that service to the community. As we move, downsize, family members pass away, we need to find a means to dispose of the items and allow other people to purchase those items. And the auction process is a way to make it happen. And certainly through technology, it's certainly going to grow and advance. And we look forward to doing that in the future. My nephew, Matt Cooper, his sister, Carly Cooper, are the fourth generation. Only 3% of businesses, family businesses, reach the fourth generation. I don't have a stat on the fifth generation, so I can't say, but we're certainly pleased that we do have family members who are from the fourth generation participating. And I'm certain that my grandfather, Alex Cooper, would be extremely proud of what has been created, with his name. And if he's looking down, I'm sure he's a big smile on his face. So I know that, certainly.
No doubt about it. Paul, congratulations to you and
Thank you.
your family members and your employees and your customers, both on the buy side and the sell side, who've supported you for the last 100 years. That's quite an achievement.
Thank you very much. It was an honor to be here today. I really appreciate the opportunity.
We've enjoyed the conversation. This is David Nevins for City Biz, and our guest today has been Paul Cooper of Alex Cooper Auctioneers. Thank you for joining us today.
Sure.